Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I swear right now has got to be the perfect time to be a retro gamer. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of just all the insane prices that are coming down the pipe for a lot of these different handheld consoles and just like consoles in general. The other day, it might have been like a week ago or something like that, I saw that the new Steam Deck was coming out and they released the prices for it. And for what you're getting now, I used to think that the Steam Deck had some value. I thought it was really cool, but what you really are getting now to me is just wild. For the top tier Steam Deck model, it's about $949 with tax. It's going to be $1,000, and that's before you're even buying their deck. And the lower tier model is like around $700, $789, which to me is just insane. It's bonkers how expensive these consoles are getting. Because just a few short years ago, when this thing was released, you could get one for $300, $500. About the same price as a Nintendo Switch. And looking back and talking about the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2, even the pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2 looks very appealing because you can get a Nintendo Switch 2 now for $450, $500. It's really making it look a lot more appealing. You can play, it's not the same vibe, the same feeling, but you can even play retro games on the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 now through the Nintendo Marketplace. But you got other companies like Legion coming out with $1,000 handheld consoles. These prices are just really getting out of control. And right now, it's making retro gaming just look so much more appealing. So it's making me so happy that I am going on, this retro gaming journey that I've been going on over the past year. But there's still so much value compared to all these insane prices that you're seeing. These guys are wanting you to throw down $1,000 for a handheld console. There's still so much value to be had from retro gaming. I remember when I was a kid and I was playing the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance over here. You could get a console for, I think it was like $70, to $100, $60, for some of these handheld consoles. And the prices of the games were still expensive. I only got some games on my birthday and stuff. But right now, if you go on eBay, you can still get some of these consoles for the same price. Of course you can do emulations and you can get some of these cheaper handheld knockoffs on Amazon, for probably around the same price, and they have a ton of games on there. But if you're really trying to build up, your retro game library, and you want to stick with the original, you want to be a purist, I guess you could say, or something like that, it's still not that bad. Like I said, you can get a Game Boy Color right now. If you go on eBay for $60, you can get a Game Boy Advance for going around $80, which isn't that bad. I feel like the prices for a Game Boy Advance is pretty reasonable. I got a Game Boy Advance. Prices have still gone up for these consoles. Pretty crazy rate, but I think 10 years ago when I bought my Game Boy Advance, I probably got it for like $40 or $50 from GameStop. So the price really hasn't appreciated a lot on Game Boy Colors or Game Boy Advances, over the last 10 years. So if you're wanting to get into retro gaming right now, Game Boy Colors, regular Game Boys, Game Boy Advances, that's a great place to start. Right now, I know that the 3DSs, I think, are really going up in price, especially the 3DS XL. For some reason right now, there's a huge demand for 3DS XLs, and you can get a 3DS XL. I saw them on eBay. I think you can get them for like $200 to $250. But you can still get in. If you're wanting to get in and play with a 3DS, there's other models that you can get at a lot less price, versus that $250 entry point with the XL. And you can still have a lot of fun. You're still getting the two screens. I can tell you right now, I think the best freaking deal for you guys, if you're wanting to get into like handheld gaming, the best deal right now that I can find on eBay is with the Nintendo Switch Lite. I saw some Nintendo Switch Lites on there for $70, 70 to $100. That just kind of blows my mind considering that the 3DS XLs and some of the 3DSs are going, for more than that. And those are a lot older consoles, I mean, mind blown, I mean, that just goes to show you how supply and demand can really affect, the prices for these consoles. And of course, don't forget about the Nintendo Switch. You can get a Nintendo Switch for a really good deal. You can probably get some for around 100, 150 to 250, even some with game bundles, game bundling, a ton of games that you can get, I'm sure, online. In the game library for Nintendo Switch is insane. If you go online, I'm sure a lot of you guys follow other YouTubers, but their game libraries for the Nintendo Switches, especially the ones who are trying to collect the entire Nintendo Switch library. It goes from, the top of their, ceiling to the bottom of the floor, man. There's so many doggone games for Nintendo Switch, and that's a great console to get into. Plus, like I said, the Nintendo Switch 2. I know a lot of people are strapped for cash right now. Even I, don't want to. I don't expect for me to get a Nintendo Switch 2 this year just because it's 450 to $500 is just really pricey right now. But if you're wanting to get into a handheld console that has a lot bigger screen, a nice screen, an OLED screen, I believe, just really quality gameplay, Nintendo Switch 2 is a great place to start. But like I said, right now is got to be, the perfect time to get into retro gaming. Prices are, comparatively to these newer consoles coming out, prices are so much more competitive versus these newer consoles like the Steam Deck that's coming out. And I know what you're, probably thinking, yeah, it's still expensive. Some of the games are still super pricey, but there are still a ton of games that you can get for a good deal if you're wanting to get back in to retro gaming and just experience that nostalgia, right, that comes from having that experience. I think that eventually the prices of these consoles are going to go down. Right now, of course, we have, I'm sure you're aware, the crazy data center buildups right now going on right now within the country. You got all these companies that are building these data centers. They're hoarding these chips. I've seen reports of Nvidia saying that they're hoarding a lot of these chips, which is causing the prices to stay inflated. With an anticipation of them going towards a lot of these companies that are buying these chips out. Just crazy things going on in the chip industry, and everything's being inflated. It's not just the graphics cards, it's the CPUs, it's the RAM. Everything's freaking going up in price because of data centers. But I think as this starts to wind down a little bit, hopefully the prices of this stuff will go down and we'll start to be able to get some more affordable handhelds. Because at the end of the day, I'm not ever paying $1,000 for a handheld. I have so many systems and retro stuff that I want to get through. And that I love playing. So, what do you guys think? If you have any other ideas as far as retro consoles that we can get into, I know a lot of these are predominantly, Nintendo based, but as far as this channel goes, that's where I'm at now. So that's what I covered today. So, hope you guys have a good one. I do have a surprise coming out for you guys. I should be, if everything goes well, I should be getting a CRT TV pretty soon for the setup. That's kind of why I'm kind of clearing this stuff off here. So it's like a Magnavox. It's like a 13-inch. I'm excited to get it. I don't know how it's going to affect my filming, but it's all about the experience. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be right here, though. Perfect size. So, yeah, hopefully I'll get that in a couple weeks. We'll see. But I will see you guys on the next one. Later.